Hey folks, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Unmasked. Today we're going to talk about money. Although I think this means dirt in sign language. One of the things I wish I had known before I started investing in real estate was having a reserve fund. I was under the impression, I'll tell you, I had a coworker of mine in Blythe, California, who asked me one time, Bob, how much money should I have in my bank account? How much money should I have saved up? And at the time, I was very early in my real estate investing, and I said, it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account, because as long as you're cash flowing your properties, you'll never have to worry about how much is in your bank account. And the answer to that, or the response to that is absolutely wrong. And if he followed my advice, I led him astray, unfortunately. The reality is, you need to come up with your own formula of what you're most comfortable with. I've been managing a property for a while, and the property I manage, it's paid off. The property is completely paid off, and it brings in just under $2,000 a month. And what we do is we save up, as a manager, we save up this money up until it gets about $10,000. Then we send about $5,000 or $6,000 to the owner in big chunks. So it takes a couple of months, and then you get a big old check for $4 or $5, $6 grand. Meanwhile, we leave $3, $4, $5, $6 grand sitting in the bank account as a reserve. See, there are things that pop up that you never know are going to come up. As an example, to have somebody replace your HVAC system, your heating and air conditioning system, it can cost anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 to have that done. If you have a sewer backup because a tree is growing its roots into the pipe, that can cost you anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 to have that replaced. That's a lot of money. If you have mold growing in your house, that could be $10,000 to $20,000 to get that taken care of. If you find that you have lead in your house, that could be $30,000, $40,000 to rid your property of lead. There's a lot of money in real estate that could cause some major damage. There's some major issues that come up when you invest in real estate. So it's really crucial that you have some money to keep you going whenever a renter leaves or when a renter trashes the place. Because you see, that deposit that you get from the renter isn't always enough. And taking that tenant to court and getting a judgment against them doesn't always pay off. I had a judgment against a lady once for $7,000. She didn't pay me rent for a couple of months. I finally got her evicted, and I had a judgment. And I thought, yeah, it was my first judgment I ever got against somebody. And I thought, this is great. 4 years, 5 years later, I still had received absolutely nothing from my judgment. Now, I could have done it better. I could have gotten somebody to go out there and collect the debt. I could have sold it to a debt collector. There's so many things I could have done differently now, but I didn't know back then. The point is, that whole time I had to float the mortgage. I had to float the loan. I had to pay my property manager for taking care of legal fees. I had to pay the lawyer to evict the lady. I had to still remove the snow. I had to cut the grass. I had to pay for the water bill. I had to pay the property taxes. All those things I still had to do, even though the tenant was not paying a cent. So if your mortgage, let's say your mortgage is $1,000 a month for ease of numbers. If your mortgage is $1,000 a month, you want to have probably no less than $6,000 just to cover that in case something happens to that tenant where you can't kick them out for 6 months. In some parts of the country, you can't. In California, under the right circumstances, your tenant could be there for a year to year and a half, not paying a single dime to you. And yet, what are you going to do? You're going to lose the property? That would stink. So having a reserve fund takes care of you in case of a disaster. It takes care of you in case of a bad tenant, and it gets your property ready for the next tenant whenever that tenant moves out. That deposit that you get from that tenant, if you held on to that $1,000, $2,000, whatever it was, that's not going to be enough to fix the property if they smash it up, they break things or stain things. So it's important that you collect a little bit of every rent check and put that and build that into a safety fund. I didn't do that. I wished I would have done that when I first started investing in real estate. It has since been something that I have seen others do to their success. It has been things that I have done to my success. Having that reserve fund is peace of mind, but it's more than that. It's having it ready to take care of that property in a moment. Because when you have a property that isn't rented for 6 months because you have to gather the cash to get it to go, and you're paying the rent the whole time, or you're paying the mortgage the whole time, and you're paying your property manager to hire the people to get it all fixed up, that's all money out of your pocket. And if you don't have it, it's all going on a credit card or some kind of loan, which increases your liability, which is the last thing you wanted to do when you bought property. So build up that emergency fund, and you'll find that you'll have peace of mind. I wish I would have known that before I started investing in real estate. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.